Hi friends, how are you today? Sally and I are so glad you're here. Sally, can you say hi to our friends? Yeah, she's excited you're here. But you know what she's also excited about? It's her treat time. Sally, would you like your treat? Would you like it? Okay. All right, Sally, you have your treat here, okay? I'm gonna tell our friends about our fun book today. Friends, we have a really fun book today. This is a book that I really liked when I was a little girl. I didn't have it at my house because it's at my school and we couldn't go there because of social distancing, so I ordered it and it just came in the mail. It's called The Best Nest. Do you know what kind of animals live in nests? You're right, birds do. We're gonna read about this bird. And at the end of this, I have a special video that I took at our beach house of a bird and a nest. We'll find out about that when we're all done with this, okay? All right, friends, let's read this. The Best Nest by P.D. Eastman. Here we go. Sally, are you ready to hear the story? Okay, here we go. Mr. Bird was happy. He was so happy that he had to sing. This is Mr. Bird's song. I love my house, I love my nest. In all the world, my nest is the best. Then Mrs. Bird came out of the house. This is not the best nest, she said. Oh my. I'm tired of this old place, said Mrs. Bird. I hate it. Let's look for a new place right now. Friends, did you hear what she said? She said something that I feel like is kind of unkind. She said, I hate it. Mrs. Rogers really doesn't like that word. I really like the word I don't like it, or it doesn't feel good to me, but that isn't a very kind word. I'm gonna read it again and I'm gonna change it into my words, okay? I'm tired of this old place, said Mrs. Bird. I don't like it. Let's look for a new place right now. That sounds nicer, doesn't it? So they left the old place to look for a new one. This place looks nice, said Mr. Bird. Let's move here. Where is it? It's in the side of that tree, isn't it? But somebody else had already moved in. Who moved in there? Looks like it might be a raccoon. So they looked for another house. This one looks nice, said Mr. Bird, and there's nobody in it. Who do you think might live in that? Let's find out. Oh, you're wrong, said Mrs. Bird. This house belongs to a foot. Goodness. So they went on looking. I like this one, said Mrs. Bird. It has a pretty red flag on the roof. There it is. What is this, friends? I've always wanted a house with a flag, said Mrs. Bird. Maybe this place will be all right. But it wasn't all right. I guess I made a mistake, said Mr. Bird. What were they putting in there? They were putting mail in there, weren't they? You make too many mistakes, said Mrs. Bird. I'm going to pick the next house. And here it is, right here. They flew in and they looked around. It wasn't too big. It isn't too big, asked Mr. Bird. I like this big place, said Mrs. Bird. This is the place to build our new nest. Friends, what is this? Do you know what this is? It's a bell. Do you know what might happen with a bell? Let's find out. They went right to work. They needed many things to build their nest. First, they got some hay. Then they got some soda straws, broom straw, and they got some sweater string. They got some stocking string and some mattress stuffing. They're collecting all kinds of things to make a really nice nest. They got some horse hair and they got some man hair. Soon they had all the hay, all the straw, all the string, and all the stuffing, and all the horse hair, and all the man hair they could carry. They took it back to build their nest. Mr. and Mrs. Bird worked very hard. It took them the rest of the morning to finish their nest. "This nest really is the best," said Mrs. Bird. "I want to stay here forever." Mr. Bird was happy too. He flew to the top of his house and he sang again. "I love our house, I love our nest, in all the world, our nest is the best." He was so busy singing, he couldn't even see Mr. Parker coming. Every day at 12 o'clock, Mr. Parker came to the church. Mr. Parker came to pull a rope that went up to the bird's new nest. The rope rang the bell right under Mrs. Bird's nest. This right here, friend, says bong, bong, bong. Can you say it with me? Bong, bong, bong. How does Mrs. Bird look? She looks a little scared and frazzled, doesn't she? Worried. Mrs. Bird got out of there as fast as she could fly. There's those words again. Let's say them again. Bong, 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 bong. When Mr. Bird came in, all he could see was a mess of hay and string and stuffing and horsehair and man hair and straw. Where was Mrs. Bird? Look at Mr. Bird. How does he look like he's feeling? He looks worried to me. That would be really scary to come in and not be able to find his family. "I will look until I find her," said Mr. Bird. He looked high and he looked low. He looked everywhere to find Mrs. Bird. He looked down into the chimney, but Mrs. Bird wasn't there. He looked down into the water barrel, but Mrs. Bird wasn't there. Then he saw a big cat, and there was a big smile on that cat's face. There were some pretty brown feathers near the cat's mouth. Mr. Bird began to cry. "Oh dear," he cried, "that big cat has eaten Mrs. Bird." Oh, friends, how do you think Mr. Bird is feeling now? I think he feels sad. Mr. Bird flew off. "I'll never see Mrs. Bird again," he cried. It was getting dark and it began to rain. It rained harder and harder. Mr. Bird could not see where he was going. Mr. Bird bumped into something. It was his old birdhouse. That old house that Mrs. Bird didn't like. "I'll go inside," said Mr. Bird. "I'll rest until the rain stops." Mr. Bird went in, and there was Mrs. Bird sitting there singing. You know what she was singing, friends? "I love my house, I love my nest in all the world. This nest is the best." There's the musical notes from her singing. "You're here," gasped Mr. Bird. "I thought you didn't like this old nest." Mrs. Bird smiled. "I used to not like it," she said, "but a mother bird can change her mind, you see. There's no nest like an old nest for a brand new bird." Look, she laid an egg. And when the egg popped open, the bird thought so too. Oh, how exciting. There they are. That's the end, friends, of the best nest. If you remember at the beginning of the story, I told you I had a special thing about a bird. When we were at our beach house, there was a bird making a nest. So I took some video of the nest and the bird. I want you to watch and see, okay? Hold on, here we go. Do you see that, friends? There's a bird that has made a nest right up there on top. Right up on top. I can't see what's in it. Maybe if I put my foot up here, we can see. Are there any eggs in there? Any baby birds? I'm probably making the mommy very nervous right now. Do you think it's the best nest? I don't know. What did you think, friends? Did you see the eggs in that little nest? Isn't that sweet? That isn't here at our house. That's at our beach house, and we're not there very often. But I'm hoping next time we go that those baby eggs will have hatched, and maybe the nest will still be there and we can look at the nest. And if the birds have flown away, we might even be able to take the nest and I'll be able to show you that. All right, friends, keep your eyes open for birds and nests and eggs because there are lots of them right now. Now's the time that the mommy birds are having their eggs and that the baby ones will fly away. All right, friends, see you next time. Sally, you want to say goodbye? And say goodbye. Can you say goodbye to our friends? Say bye, friends. See you next time. Hi, friends. I'm here at the bird nest, so I'm going to look up. It's been just about a week since we were here last for me to check it. So I'm going to climb up here and I'm going to check it to see what's in it. Are you ready to see? Here we go. Do you see that, friends? There's baby birds in there. I think I might be making the mommy really nervous, so we'll take one more look and then I'll go, okay? Here we go. Did you see all the feathers on them? That's so exciting. Okay, friends, I'm gonna leave the nest now so the mommy can come back. See you later. Allie, you wanna say goodbye to our friends? Say goodbye, friends. See you next time.